something going on in Haiti since, since the 80s, right? So that's always been something. And in fact, the Canadian government and the UN sanctioned Michel Martelly, Haiti's former president, for arming young people. And so when we have protests in Haiti, you used to have young people go in there and shoot up the protests on behalf of the politicians and the economic elite. So what's happened is they've gotten more guns, more money, but it's still the elite that are controlling it. The other thing I want to say is, all this time people are talking about Haiti's on fire. It's only Port-au-Prince. Haiti, the entire country, there were still flights coming in the north, like people were flying in and back and forth, going into Haiti in the north. Haiti has 12 to 13 million people. Port-au-Prince has about 2.5 million people. And that's where you have the bulk of it. So to say to invade an entire island, because there's something that's localized and controlled, the US could stop this easily. Look, if there was a real revolutionary fervor going on in Haiti, there are like all these groups going to fight US imperialism, don't you think they would stop the guns coming into the country? Like if there was a real leftist movement, they're letting guns come in because they know, because Haiti doesn't manufacture guns and so on and so forth. So they're doing it and they increase it. They send them, these guys are not attacking the rich neighborhoods. They're not attacking, they're not going into these gated communities where these white folks drive around okay. Like all these meetings you see in Haiti, the rich are doing, they're driving around, they're fine. They have their own personal private security. So this gang conversation, or the so-called gang problem, is something that is manufactured by dumping illegal guns. The elites have more access to it. And they're the ones doing that to create a pretext that's been there since 2021 for the US to actually occupy Haiti. And we have to think about how it is that if you look if you do a search, the word gangs in Haiti doesn't even come up like every day until like 2022, when the US went to the UN Security Council asking for an invasion. So we have to, understand that. So it's not that there isn't a problem. I think there's a problem, but the source of the problem is the US government dumping guns into the private ports that are owned by the elite that come through. And then that allow the elite then fund certain groups of people to go on and terrorize certain neighborhoods to make it seem like that's the key problem, as opposed to something deeper going on in the country. The other thing is, remember, the US has allowed every single state institution to be dissolved. We haven't had elections in 2016. There's no elected person in Haiti, right? And so that's the other problem we have. But in that sense, they like it this way, because look what they did. They installed a so-called presidential council that agreed to foreign invasion. And then now they have this prime minister that they installed, a UN worker, right? Prime minister, minister of foreign affairs. They're both, lifetime UN workers. And what do? Their first mission is to go to the US, meet with Anthony Blinken, meet with the national security advisor. I mean, that tells you everything about who's running Haiti. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Baba, Sister Nubia Kai had put a question in the chat. Because her computer isn't working, so she can hear us, but she can't speak.
Okay, her question is, what do you think it will take for Haiti to become fully sovereign and independent again? Is there a revolutionary movement emerging among the youth?
Right. One thing I want to say is, like, there have always been people protesting. So there are young people who are, a lot of young people, especially in the rural areas. There's a very strong rural movement. In the north, I don't know if you've seen all the canals that are being built, in order for self-determination and food sovereignty. This is without the fact that we don't have a government, but people are working together and they built these canals. And now they're having rice production when, because of Bill Clinton, rice production was completely destroyed in Haiti, right? I think nothing short of another revolution, to be honest, because the U.S. is so entrenched in Haiti. And the other thing that I don't talk about enough is what the U.S. has done, and what it's doing in Africa as well is funding NGOs, basically taking all the energy of these young radical people and putting them into NGOs and turning them into technocrats and bureaucrats, right? And so the National Endowment for Democracy has been funding, young people since the 2000s. It funds like certain newspapers in Haiti because it's the cheapest way to do it. It's an ideological war, right? So you can use NGOs, all these young people who are radical now are, traveling to the US, traveling to the UN to give, testimony. So it de-radicalizes that. So you have that, right? But I do think what needs to happen, and I think, nothing short of what happened in 1804 is what will bring us back, because we need to get the US out of Haiti. We need to get the US, the boot off of our necks. And what needs to happen is, as the empire is falling, as we see the US is faltering, this is when to take the opportunity to take the reins of sovereignty again. And just as the Haitians did it from 1791 to 1804, I have trust that the people will rise up and do it again. But nothing short of that kind of revolution will get the US out of our faces.
Wow. Well, sure happy to have your thoughts on that. Now, what you have said brings to mind, it seems that Port-au-Prince is an enclave in Haiti. That is really the problem. But the rest of Haiti is really not. The people are can take care of themselves. They're like self-reliant. But it's a lot of them, and they're poor, and they're unarmed. Am I thinking this right? So that it seems like it's just about Port-au-Prince, and people are saying Haiti.
Right. Port-au-Prince becomes Haiti. And mind you, flights coming into Haiti never stopped in the north. So people have to know this. People are still coming in, right? I have family members that are flying to Haiti in the north for funerals and for whatever they needed to fly. Not that things are not difficult, because Port-au-Prince is the lifeline, right? This is how you have a neocolonial space where, you have one major city where everything happens in it. So yeah, so the core of the problem is in the capital city, where you have, a number of young men who've taken neighborhoods. It's like the so-called, the gangs in Chicago, LA have their territories and so on and so forth, right? The Bloods and the Crips, right? So that's what it is. But it's localized in the country. It's in the Port-au-Prince. The rural areas are okay. The problem there is that so much of that, so much of the products and stuff come from Port-au-Prince, or when they're selling, agriculture products, they have to go to Port, they have to get to Port-au-Prince, and sometimes they can't get through there, or gas and oil, those things are primarily in Port-au-Prince. But there's also a major city in the north, Cap-Haïtien, where people, things go on as normal. So we have to understand what's going on. And you have to think about this manufacturing. Look, Haiti's Port-au-Prince airport has been closed, but what was it, like 2 months ago, while it was closed, you have the State Department talking head, the Haitian American reporter, Jackie Charles from Miami Herald, posting a video of her walking through the Haiti airport with the U.S. Marines. Like, if Haiti is so dangerous, the U.S. has flown, and I forgot to say this, in the past 3 months, the U.S. has flown almost 100 cargo ships of military equipment to Haiti. Do you mean to tell me all of this is to fight a handful of gangs? Like, really? They're building a whole military base, right? 100 plane loads of military equipment to Haiti, this tiny island.
And we already know, sister, where they're mining, the mining has never stopped.
Right. Exactly.
They have continued to do that.
Exactly.
That's about it.
Any questions from anyone else?
I have a question. Is the opposition in Haiti, who's organized and who's not organized, and or is it most of the opposition is outside the country?
Yeah, most of the opposition, we have to know the 2004 coup d'etat was really brutal because it really destroyed the people's movement. The first coup d'etat, remember Lavalas, which was the swell of people with Jean-Bertrand Aristide, which came into power in 1991, but was overthrown by a CIA coup d'etat after 9 months in power, with tons of Lavalas people killed and imprisoned after that. But they really destroyed the Lavalas movement. Whatever you see now of Famille Lavalas is not the original Lavalas that you have, right? This Lavalas, thousands of people were killed after the 2004 coup d'etat, and that's something that hasn't been talked about much. And so you don't have a lot of opposition, but the opposition that you had, where there were like millions of people in the street in the 2018, 2019, protesting against the theft of the Petrocaribe funds that Venezuela set up for Haiti. When every time people were going out, Michel Martelly, Jovenel Moïse would send armed goons to actually disrupt these protests. People got killed, right? So there's been a counter insurgency against protests. And so what's happened in the arming of these young people, these young men, these armed groups are there to actually stop the mass protests, because there were mass protests. People were protesting against the IMF and impose removal of fuel subsidies in Haiti, right? So I think people protesting this, and then the protests got violent because they would send armed people in there. So there is a resistance, and I think the resistance, and at some point there's something called the Bois Calais movement, where the people were actually giving, community justice to the so-called, the armed groups, where they would capture them, the communities, put up, they protect their neighborhoods against these young men, these armed groups that were terrorizing them. So there's been that, but that's been silenced, right? So we don't hear it. We don't hear a lot of it. There's opposition, but the thing is, the political part of Haiti has been captured by the U.S. Look, we were left with 0 elected officials. What does the U.S. do? It brings in the CARICOM, the Caribbean communities, and makes them pretend like they put together a 7-member presidential council. That's the U.S., which they handpicked because every member of the presidential council had to agree to intervention, or else you won't be at the table. And it took the same old political elite, right? It's the same people who were working with the U.S. before that are now in power again. So they've completely got state capture. And I think there is resistance. I do think the resistance has been not snuffed out, but quieted down because of the terror in the neighborhoods, because these armed people are terrorizing the neighborhoods. They're not terrorizing, they're terrorizing the Quartier Populaire, where you have the bed of resistance in Haiti. And the Quartier Populaire are like the popular neighborhoods, the really packed in neighborhoods that are impoverished, but that's where you have the better resistance. And they've been silenced through the armed people. I want to say, just while I'm thinking about it, is to think about, we just saw the agreement signed by the Kenyans, the Kenyan force and the US, and the US and Haiti. And it gives the Kenyan soldiers absolute immunity. Absolute immunity. The forms say, and even the UN occupation had, like, even though the UN, and the UN forces wreak so much havoc in Haiti, but they at least had something that says there's a way where you can go for redress if something happened, right? Even though it wasn't enforced. It says in the document that no Kenyan official can be arrested or tried for anything in Haiti by Haitians. If something happens to Haitian people, if they do something, the Kenyan person in charge in Haiti can decide whether or not that thing is bad enough to refer it. But the Kenyan soldier has complete immunity until they get back. And then they can try, if they get tried for like murder or something, it can only happen in Kenya under Kenyan jurisdiction. Why would the US allow this kind of agreement? Why would the Haitians who are supporting this, right, allow this kind of agreement where it basically opens up the way for Kenyans to kill and maim and do everything they can with no redress whatsoever? Why would they do that?
My answer is, it's typical of what the US would do if it invades or occupies another nation.
Right.
It's the very same thing. And partly the Kenyans probably insisted on that if they're going to get Kenyan forces to go in. It's a political thing because the Kenyan president is not standing on very firm ground.
That's true, but I don't think the Kenyans were smart enough to actually think of that part. I think the US wrote that agreement.
I don't know, I don't want to underestimate that the kind of negotiations that may be going on among the US and other, but again, in my mind, I'm wondering, what is it that is so persuasive to some of like Kenya and Caribbean nations and some of these so-called democratic countries
You're right. The other
that
question.
they
Money.
would
They paid them.
participate
They
in
paid
something
them.
such as this?
They
mean,
paid them.
Because their leaders are a bunch of neo-colonial stooges. Let's remember, all our radical leaders have been killed. Let's remember the history of Africa, right? Like all the radical leaders on the African continent were either deposed or killed, right? And so what we're left with, like, what's Kenya doing in Africa? Kenya was occupying Somalia, as part, has forces in DRC. These are neo-colonial stooges. Ruto, all he's doing is selling Kenyans everywhere, like sending young people to work as cheap labor in Europe. So these are neo-colonial stooges that are chosen by the West because they will impose Western needs on their people. That's why Kenya is suffering right now, with all the protests. Because I think the young people are finally realizing and are coming up. The same thing with the Caribbean. People love Mia Mottley. Mia Mottley is not a progressive. Mia Mottley is a neoliberal, long-term politician, multi-generational politician, and she's been promised the next seat as the Secretary of the United Nations, which is why she's going to do whatever the U.S. wants it to do. And so, when the U.S. runs military exercises, they run it out of Barbados. Mia Mottley is part of this. And what did the Caribbean countries get? Canada giving them millions of dollars of aid, right? More aid, more loans, and so on and so forth. So this is about money. But then it's about money, and it's not about anything about Pan-Africanism. The leaders in these countries are neo-colonial leaders. And so what we need to do is, and it's not the people, because there are all kinds of grassroots, anti-government, positions in Barbados, in Trinidad, in Guyana, but their leaders are handpicked by the West. And so until they can rise up against their leaders, that leadership will continue to lead them down, down a bad road.
Yes, and again, I think that in many cases, it's misinformation or disinformation. When you have an imperial power, or let's say the United States, or Canada and these other NATO type countries, controlling information of what is going to some of these countries that have very little control of their communication systems. The people are getting fake news. Yeah, I hate to use that term, but coming from, but yes, the people are getting fake news, and they're seeing Haiti as some place with ignorant people. They're poor and everything else, and they're better off. I'm saying those people are thinking this way. They are better off, and maybe they shouldn't even bother about Haiti, or they may, people use this description of the poorest nation in the Americas. And when they want to, let's say, for instance, at one time, Guyana, now it's oil rich, Guyana was considered the poorest nation in the Americas after Haiti. So it's used as a yardstick whenever they want to put you down. So Haiti is disrespected. And like you said, the history of Haiti and the struggle of the people, I think, is one of the reasons why the imperialist powers would want to keep Haiti down. The people's minds have not changed. They may be in the countryside and nobody's talking about them. And this enclave in Port-au-Prince is what they're focusing on. But we need to know, what is Haiti about today? How are the people thinking? And what are your thoughts as to what we can do to make people understand that Haiti is not what is being projected by the imperial powers?
Right. I mean, that's a great question, but it's also a very difficult one, because the truth is, the Western media has been writing like this about Haiti since the 1800s. And so if you look at, like, recently I was looking at like an old New York Times articles about Haiti. And, there's one from like 1921. And that's like, the headline is, Haitians eat a US Marine. They're talking about cannibals, right? And so, even how they if you look at how they represented the Haitian Revolution, they made it seem like, Haitians going around just killing all the white people, raping all the white women, throwing babies, into fires, and so on and so forth. And so that goes with the territory of being the only successful slave revolt in history, right? And so that view of Haiti actually goes back a long time, even within the Caribbean. And people don't know, for example, there are all kinds of, some of the worst immigration policies towards Haitian is not the US. Towards Haiti is not the US. It's the Caribbean nations, that will repatriate and treat Haitian asylum seekers like they're animals. The Bahamas has some of the most draconian immigration laws when it comes to Haitian asylum seekers and refugees. And the Caribbean has also imbibed, they've also bought into the stereotype about Haiti being violent and vicious, even though Haiti still now has the lowest homicide rate in the region, right?
With
So
all
even
that, with all that's going on in Port-au-Prince,
even with all that's going on, it still has the lowest homicide rate in the region.
like you said, Port-au-Prince is 2 million, and the rest of the country is 10.
Right. Right. So the rest of the Caribbean have bought into that. And you'll see it, and they'll say stuff like, they'll like, these voodoo worshipers who speak that crazy language. And you hear it from other Caribbean nations. You hear it from the Francophone countries that are not even countries. They're still colonies of France, Martinique and Guadeloupe. You hear from Jamaica, whose highest court is still in England. They're not even an independent nation, right? So they bought, through their Christianity and whatever, religion and politics of respectability, they always said, we don't want to be like Haiti. We don't want to be like Haiti. Look at them. Right. And this is the reason why the CARICOM, the Caribbean community, refused to admit Haiti for a long time. They didn't even want Haiti in because they were afraid, because Haiti's population is so big, that they would be overwhelmed by these Haitians, these weird people with the weird language and weird religion. That's how they see us. So we actually have to be, that's why it's so easy for them to see it. Like, you have William Ruto's wife was saying, she was doing a prayer for her soldiers coming to Haiti, saying that she doesn't want the voodoo to take down her Kenyan police. So they've all bought into the stereotype. We have to be honest about that. And so what people need to do is actually learn Haitian history, learn what's really going on, and really know that the US never does anything out of the goodness of its heart, especially for a Black country. I mean, that's the first thing we should know. Nothing the US does is for the good of our people. So if we start with that premise, then it makes a big difference in how we move forward.
I have a question. Who's making money now, and what's the bourgeoisie supposedly doing in here?
The bourgeoisie make money. Look, the earthquake was the biggest come up for the bourgeoisie. A lot of them were land rich and cash poor, and they're a transnational elite. Look, the biggest billionaire, the one billionaire in Haiti is Gilbert Bijou, who's a Zionist Israeli, right? Makes all kinds of money. Right, in Haiti. So they make all their wealth off of the poor people. And what's helpful for them, because it's a different kind of elite, they make their money based on importing products into Haiti. So it's not to their benefit to have agriculture where Haitians actually make their own foods. They make money The people making money for this occupation, you know, someone on Twitter actually printed out all the contract given to U.S. companies to go build the base, provide bed sheets, provide internet. So millions have already been dispersed to U.S. and Canadian companies. They're the ones making money in Haiti, right? So there's that. And then the elite are making money because they, you know, if something needs to be done, they get the subcontracts. They make money because they speak English. They have, you know, they have the companies, they have, you know, the stuff. Like the bonanza that happened after the earthquake, where Bill Clinton, you know, took all that money and then gave it to his, but you know, some of it to his buddies. That's what occupation means. It means people get rich. The U.S. military industrial complex get rich. All the side companies, everybody gets rich off of the back of Haitians. And then the Kenyans get money too. The soldiers get paid. Look, the soldier's salary in Haiti is more than the Haitian police, which also is going to breed resentment, right? Because the Haitian police, I think, gets about $250 US a month. The Kenyan soldiers are getting like $1,000 a month with all their costs covered. So that already tells you why people are doing this. And you had Kenyans saying, well, you know, let these people go and make their money, you know, and help their families back in Kenya. Why are you stopping these police from going to Haiti? So we can see what's going on here. You know, there's no solidarity. There's no Pan-Africanism, really, you know, when we think about, you know, how people are seeing this.
Well, that last statement you made is troubling. Solidarity with Haiti should be the primary thinking of people of African descent anywhere, especially understanding the historical facts. I of course think that it's just a matter of sharing information. Where
Yes.
solidarity is concerned, people need to know more about about what is happening. And like, if that's not getting out, if we don't know who, let's say the peasantry, I'm saying the peasantry because I know there's a co-op movement or something going
Yes.
on in the countryside. If we don't know that these people are organized and it's not only Port-au-Prince that we should be focusing on, we will continue to think that Haiti is just about a bunch of gangsters and people who like the question that came in, who is barbecue? I think Mama Tendai might have put that question in. As to who is barbecue and the reason why he got the name, and that's all we're getting on the news. I mean, stuff like that you know, creates a kind of thought in the imagination of folks. Black folks and they eat people or whatever it is. So we need to counter that with some information coming out of, let's say, the countryside, out of the organized people in Haiti who are in the countryside, outside of that commercial enclave called Port-au-Prince. So I don't know what the move that we're trying to make. Why we have this is this Freedom Friday Forum is because we're trying to inform people about what is happening in the African world, other than what they're getting from, let's say, the corporate press, part of it. And I know your organization you're within, and a lot of people are doing great work, but it needs to be spread in all different ways. And thinking about IT, I think we need to get more engaged with the people in the peasant people, the people in the countryside, in the cooperatives, because I know they're organized. They've had meetings and all that, and it's not in Port-au-Prince. So,
No.
What is your thought right now about how we can do that in a better way than what we're doing? Well, we're not doing anything right now. I mean, we just don't have the connection.
Right. I mean, the problem is that because there's a language difference, right? So a lot of the stuff is done in French and Creole, and so it's very difficult to get out. You know, some of the times we can, you know, my organization, we translate some documents from some of the groups we work with. So we have that. It's like it's what's interesting is that there's this group called Via Campesina, which is an international organization that links with all the various agricultural, rural groups all over the global South. And they're able to get more information out around Haiti and get the voices of the masses. So it's very difficult to get that. And I think there needs to be a two-pronged thing. And I think, I think the local rural movements are getting bigger and they're spreading to the Port-au-Prince area. But I think our job is to actually advocate for Haiti because we live within the empire, the heart of the empire, is to advocate to the governments, to your governments, to the people here, Black people here, Africans here, to tell them what's really going on, because they're going to keep, so that's one thing we need to do. Like, Haitians need a breather. They need that boot lifted off of their neck so that they can actually breathe. And so what we need is to get the U.S. out of there. We need to get the core group out of there. We need to get the U.S. out of there. We need to get the Kenyans out of there. We need to be left alone. And so I think what we can do as to agitate here to demand that. So now you have Al Sharpton having meetings on Haiti, trying to, be like, pushing for intervention. So why don't we tell him to be quiet? Because this is ridiculous, right? Because he, the truth is he's pushing for this intervention. Right. And so we have a lot of work to do, even here in the US and Canada, to stop the powerful, the people who control the media and stuff like that, to change the narrative here. Because if we don't do that, the people in Haiti don't have a chance, don't have the time to breathe and come out and speak loudly.
This is an international situation. And Haiti is not in isolation.
Right.
That the cartels internationally understand the products and services, minerals in particular, that come out of Haiti, feed their industries worldwide.
Right.
So we're looking at a global situation, pinpointing on Haiti, which actually looks at a whole combination of materials and resources put together that allows for an imperialism to exist. The imperialism is not particular to the United States any more than you could say the imperialism to China or to the Soviet Union, or to the Israelis, or the history of the Zionist organizations being the brokers of the major businesses for import and export.
Right. The thing, though, is it's the U.S. that's been the key imperial power in the region for us. That is the U.S., especially when it comes to Haiti. I agree with you in the sense that thinking about how one of the things that is important is to actually stop exceptionalizing Haiti and to see it as part of the broader process of resource extraction, right? And I think people don't do that. They see Haiti as so exceptional. They don't see this as like a moment for decolonization. That Haiti's under occupation the same way that you have other places where the U.S. has installed presidents and so on and so forth. But the U.S. wants, for example, the lithium from Bolivia, the oil from Venezuela and Guyana. And so we have to do both understand the reality of Haiti, but that's why but also see that it's an imperialist. It's not about Haitians as much as it is the U.S. need for control of these resources to keep, in their fight with China and Russia, right? I mean, to keep that out. And so I do think you're absolutely right in terms of like de-exceptionalizing Haiti, but also know that, even as a falling and fumbling empire, the U.S. role in Haiti is actually singular and in this moment. And I think that's important to do both, to understand the U.S. role, but to also link Haiti's movements, quest for self-determination with other countries that are trying to maintain and retain their sovereignty, places like Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba, in particular.
Iridium.
Yes, I know that. I brought that up, Brother Meg.
I heard you.
Yeah. Because I'm saying
there's no space age industry.
Yes. But I'm also saying, in addition to that, the only reason why I'm aware of those things is because of dealing with alternative news and trying to dig and dig and dig, because I'm looking at Haiti as my own, as an extension of what we're doing. It's it's an independent African nation in this hemisphere. So we've got, so it's our brothers and sisters, not our cousins, but our people, by our own blood that's going through this. And I'm saying not too long ago, one of our sisters helped to convene a conversation among the islands that are not independent, but are territories and so on and so forth of the various imperialist countries. And the organizers' response were that their issues in dealing with their grassroots people is that the people were afraid that they would become Haiti.
Right.
Oh,
Okay, so they were willing to allow to remain under colonialism, neo-colonialism, because they didn't want to become Haiti. So the fear that has been established within our people doesn't even allow us to align ourselves, because all of these folks should be coming together, because they're all suffering in the same way in the Caribbean, to basically, you know, do what we're saying in terms of coming together and saying, leave Haiti alone, get the H out, and to be able to take responsibility and authority over our own resources. We haven't been able to do it in the continent.
but China and India is coming up in there.
Yeah.
Well,
You just get my dander going.
yeah.
The
Well,
competition
you
in the
know.
cotton industries originally between Haiti and the southern part of the United States. It was the lack of cotton production coming out of Haiti from the revolution that switched cotton industries into the southern part of the United States that affected the French Revolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they had to go out of business in France.
And then require Haiti to pay for becoming independent. How nonsensical.
What word is that? Not reparation.
On that, what's the status of Haiti trying to get reparation from France on the money? Not only reparation from France, but also the money the United States stole out of your treasury
Right. Look, we can't even get reparations from the UN for bringing cholera into the country and killed 30,000 people. Right. We can't even get reparations for that. I do think it's important. One of the things that it's important to say, the French have admitted, this was like in the New York Times story on Haiti, that one of the reasons they supported the removal of Aristide was because he asked for reparations in 2003, 2004. He had a whole campaign. He's the one that came up with the number back in 2003. He had a conference around reparations demanding that money. And so, but now there's it's coming up again. I was just actually at the African Diaspora Permanent Forum, which is, in the UN, which is, a bunch of talk. But the reality is like one of the key things that the Haitian groups were asking for or demanding were reparations. So the call for reparations is back, the one from France, with a lot of people doing that. In fact, there's just, so people are bringing up cases and so on and so forth. So I think it's part of the whole global reparations call, both from the Caribbean and from the US. So that's so it's being linked to that in particular.
But but the United States raided the treasury when they invaded.
Yes. Took all the gold. Yes.
Where's that money?
Still with Citibank. Citibank has been living off of that money for a long time.
Yeah. Well, what you've all discussed there regarding, especially the Caribbean where Haiti is there is a fear of retribution, maybe, coming from the US. If small countries like in the Caribbean who don't have the kind of mineral resources or commercial foundation in having to trade, they're dependent on US money going into those countries through tourism. And all the United States has to do is say sanction. The word sanction is a word that drives fear into the hearts of many of these political leaders in these territories. So I think they're going along with a lot of what the United States does has a lot to do with the terror or economic terror coming from the United States. That's the only way I can put it, because you have to wonder if every time they have elections, everybody's coming out and talking about this democratic elections, and we Democratic have done this and done that. And then they see what's going on in Haiti. They do nothing about it, but they would like to join with the United States in coloring the Haitian people. Or corralling the Haitian people. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah. I mean, well, I've always said the way that the Caribbean could get out of this is a federation. That's not ECOWAS, but not ECOWAS. That's not CARICOM. But the truth is, that's why they set us up this way, right? They divide us. That's what they did with the African continent. They divide us and have us fighting. You know, we're forgetting that it was the same boat that just stopped at different islands, right? When they were bringing us over. And so I've always said the one way to get out of this is for what's happening in the Sahel, for example, where these three countries come together and like, okay, well, we're going to help each other out. We landlocked, and ECOWAS tried to do this mess, you know, to go against us. They decided to come together. And I said, until the Caribbean nations get together and have a federation to look out for each other, you know, they're always going to be beholden to the U.S. I do think the U.S. empire is faltering, though. The sanctions are not working against some of the people that they thought it would be working against. And I think my hope is that as the U.S. empire falters, we come together and take advantage of the opportunity.
I have a question coming from Baba Bubaka.
Yeah, hello, Baba Musi. How are you?
I'm great. And I hope you are the same too. Yes.
Okay, so I'm very happy to be here once again.
Okay.
I remember some months ago when the crisis in Niger, because right now I'm talking to you from the capital city of Niger, and doctor has mentioned it concerning the Sahel region. So I am a member of the Alliance of the Sahel because I'm from Niger. And when I listen to Dr. Jemima, it reminds my own country because we experienced the imperialism. And so far we are fighting against imperialism. We have chased the French troops. Today, thanks God, there is no French soldier here in our country. You know what happened? They refused to leave because at the beginning, the French president said no, they are not going to leave because they have signed agreement with the former president Bazoum. He said no, we cannot sign relation with a president. We have signed relation with a country, and now that Bazoum is out of power, so you have to respect the new leaders. They said no, they are not going to leave Niger, and that is what they keep saying. Haiti is poor. It's not true. This is what they said. Niger is the poorest country in the world. And if Niger is the poorest country in the world, why do they insist on staying in Niger? They say they are not going to live in Niger. And then we force them to live in Niger. You know what happened? We refused to give them food at the base where they were living, the French troops. Yeah. We refused to give them water. We stopped everything, even internet. We cut the internet. So we refuse. That's why they leave. Because they see that there is no way to live in this country if we stop everything for them. And they were obliged to leave our country. And now we are fighting against the Americans. The Americans now, they have left the 101 base here in Niger and in Niamey. So by September 15, all the American troops will leave Niger. The Germans will follow. All the imperialist troops are leaving our country. You see, so I think the problem of Haiti is the lack of government here in Haiti. And when we look at the situation in Haiti, we have to ask ourselves, we have to ask the question, why are US, UN, France, Canada involved in the affairs of Haiti if they know that Haiti is poor? That is not true. We do not believe in what they are saying. They have their own interests that they want to keep for long. And I think that we have to stand with the Haitians to support them. This is the second, what do you call it?
Where do we stand?
This is the
Are you still needing? I mean, where are we with the October 10th IPS? Either that you had told me you may want me to perform that, or to did you?
Well, they didn't tell me one way or the other, but I don't think that they got to that part of it. They're gonna, probably come to me when they do. But can you do it? Is that you give my book?
Nefa, your mic is on.
Oops, sorry about that, no.
Yes, continue, Babuka.
Okay, thank you. Baba. So I think-
NETFA is one of the organizations that I'm in tune with. Okay.
So I think that we have to stand with the Haitians to support us all Pan-Africans. They stand with Niger when we had this problem of the coup d'etat. As they know, Bazoum, we all know Bazoum was not elected by the Nigerian people. We know it, but they imposed him to Nigerian people because they know that Bazoum is going to play the role. Bazoum is going to serve their interest. You see, that's what is happening. That's why they were surprised when we had the coup d'etat, because they were not expecting Bazoum to be overthrown by the military. That's why they brought all the soldiers in the world to protect Bazoum. They forget that only God can protect someone else. And God didn't protect Bazoum because, you see, it is the head of his presidential guard who overthrew him. So we have to support the Haitians. I think that it's high time that we Pan-Africans, we stand together to support the Haitians. That is very important. That is the second time that I have been in in a meeting where we are talking about Haiti. The last time we had a space on Twitter where we invited another Haitian lady, daughter of Deselin, I think, if I'm not wrong. She was in the space. We discussed, and I learned a lot about the Haitian problem, and I really stand with the Haitians, that is to support them. So that is my contribution that I would like to give to Dr. Jemima, to be very strong. I know it's not easy, but by the will of God, we'll overcome this problem. Thank you very much, Baba Mosi.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You can take your hand down. Okay. Baba Congo has a question.
We have quite a few Haitians that are stuck down in from South America, Central America, and at the Mexico border. Can you say what the numbers are, and what's how they're getting along?
Oh, I don't know what the numbers are, but when I used to do work there, I want to just say, I just want us to know how they got there, because before 2016, there were no Haitians at the U.S.-Mexico border and trying to get an asylum. They got there because when the occupation started in 2004, it was Brazil that led the occupation. So people don't even think about that. And it was Lula who was promised a seat in the UN Security Council. So he decided to show that, he was, Brazil was an international leader. And so it chose to, it ran the military wing of the military occupation from 2004 to 2017. And while there, Brazil needed cheap labor it was hosting both the World Cup and the Olympics. And it needed cheap labor. And so it gave a lot of visas to Haitians to go provide cheap labor in Brazil, 2012, 2014. And then with the downturn of the Brazil economy, all these Haitians would no longer, besides the racism, of course, but all these Haitians were no longer able to earn a living. So then a lot of them started basically going up Central America, from Brazil, Central America, going through 7 countries to get to the US-Mexico border. Before, when they started coming in the late 2016, there was a trickle. And back then they weren't used to them. So they would allow them to actually reach out to family members, and then they would release them to family members in the US. But with Obama, right before elections in 2016, Obama stopped that and started putting them in prison. And when I started working with the Haitians at the border, 2016, there were a few thousand that some of them had been in prison for just asking for asylum for like a year, 9 months, 8 months. This is 2017. And then, between Obama and then Trump, who started doing these policies of remain Mexico. And so then they don't let them come to the border anymore. So there are thousands in prison inside the US. but then there's thousands and thousands more in Mexico waiting at the border to come up for asylum because of US policy. So, I mean, a lot of them have basically decided to stay in Mexico. If you go down to Tijuana, there are Haitian restaurants now and people are there, but there's still tons of people living in the streets waiting for a chance to come to the border. But that also is a result of that occupation from 2004. And I want to make sure that we see those connections, because how else would Haitians, when they're close to Florida, go all the way to the US-Mexico border to try and get in the US?
Yeah, that's interesting. That question of how, I never thought about asking that question. How did they really get there? And now that you brought that up, yeah, it seems that that's not going to happen with Kenya, because they don't need any cheap labor over there.
But they are the cheap labor. The Kenyan police are the cheap labor.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, my sister, it's been a pleasure. I have to thank you. I went over the time that I promised that we would close out, but you've got so much information, and you're such a good person in the sense of conversation. Some of us wouldn't want to let you go. Baba Congo, the vice president, my co-host,
Nice.
he always has a lot of questions about Haiti, and but tonight I don't know what happened. We had a few, but I guess you might have given the information that he might have asked about already. Anyway, I don't know if this will be enough for us. We may want to call on you again at some point.
Please.
Through whatever contacts, because I think I had the wrong email or something for you. But again, thank you very much for being on with us here at Freedom Friday Forum here on July 12th, 2024.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. And as soon as your book is out, despite the fact that it may seem like we have no interest in what you I think coming from what you said, you might say, oh, you guys wouldn't be interested in that. But, it's about African diaspora.
Yes, it's about Africa.
And anything about the African diaspora.
About Black people.
Yeah, we certainly are interested in dealing with. So again, I want to thank all those who are on with us here on the Zoom, and those of you who are watching the streaming Facebook. I'm sorry we had an issue with getting the right Facebook page, but we're on a UNIA Facebook page streaming, and this will also be uploaded to the YouTube, the Black Learning channel on YouTube, and so you can, if you want to see what it is all about, you can go back again and review what we've discussed here this evening. So to those of you, hopefully we'll see you again next time. I think that's the 26th of July. We will have another Freedom Friday Forum, subject matter not yet chosen, but it's been a pleasure having you with us. I want to thank you very much. We'll close out with our motto for the UNIA-ACL, which is one God,
one God,
one
aim,
one destiny,
one Africa.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Wonderful.
Race
Thank
first.
you again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
See you when you come back.
See you next time.
Okay. All right, see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you very much.
Yes, Brother Bubakar. Thank you for being here with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's a pleasure. Okay.
That's published in the broadcast.